your daily calories. So maybe we should learn more about it.
Tony said in his report that Dr. Lupton suggested we contact Dr. Ted Mitchell. Maybe he can help us with BMR too.
Good idea. I wonder where he is.
I read on the website that he was the medical director of the Cooper Wellness Program at the Cooper Clinic in Dallas, Texas. He's also on the science board for the President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports.
Great. Let's dial him up. Hi, Dr. Mitchell. Thanks for talking with us.
Hello. How can I help you?
We're learning what it takes to keep our bodies healthy and physically fit. Dr. Lupton showed us how to use the new food guide pyramid to determine how many daily calories we need.
I was reading in my health book about BMR, and I think it might have something to do with calories. We were wondering, what is BMR?
Well, I'm sure that you've learned that your body needs energy for doing physical activities like running or kicking a ball.
Yes, and we know that the amount of energy our bodies need depends on how active we are each day.
Well, that's correct. But the total energy that your body uses every day also includes the energy that it requires while it's at rest.
If the body's at rest, why does it need energy?
Well, even at rest, your body requires energy. It requires energy for all of its basic functions, for the cells, the organs, and the tissues, for the heartbeat, for the breathing, for the digestion. Even the brain needs energy at rest.
Energy for brain function? So, if you're a genius, your brain uses more energy than others?
Well, maybe. BMR is unique for each individual. Age, gender, and weight are a few of the factors that affect BMR, and also physical activity and muscle mass positively affect the BMR.
Why is it important to know your BMR?
Well, knowing your BMR allows you to more accurately calculate how many calories your body needs each day. And if you know your daily calorie intake, it's easier to maintain a constant weight.
How do you do that?
Well, it's simple. The number of calories that you use each day should equal the number of calories that you eat. If you eat more calories than you use, you gain weight. If you eat fewer, then you lose weight.
So BMR is like a general rate at which your body uses energy. And once you know your approximate BMR, all you need to know is your activity level.
Correct. And then you're ready to calculate the number of calories your body needs every day.
I hope it involves math and formulas.
It does, and it's a little complicated. So if you're a male, just put in the correct numbers and do the math.
I love calculations. Let's see. I weigh 42 kilograms. I am 160 centimeters tall. My age is 12, so I have a BMR of 1360.
Of course, there's a formula for girls as well. To calculate your own BMR, visit the NASA SciFiles website.
Finally, multiply your BMR by your energy level to calculate your daily calorie needs.
Looks like I'm medium, so I would need to multiply by 1.7. That means I need 2,312 calories.
Very good. You might also want to calculate your BMI.
BMI, isn't that part of the Presidential Fitness Challenge?
Yes, it is. It stands for Body Mass Index. You see, when you step on the bathroom scales, the number you see isn't necessarily how healthy you are. BMI shows at a glance whether extra pounds translate into health risks. But BMI isn't always accurate because it doesn't reflect muscle mass.
I read in my health book that muscle mass weighs more.
That's right. As you can see, 5 pounds of fat takes up a lot more space in your body than 5 pounds of muscle.
So how do you find your BMI?
Visit the President's Challenge website and use our BMI calculator.
So what does our BMI tell us?
Well, it expresses the relationship between weight and height. The higher the number, the greater the risk for developing certain types of health problems.
Thanks, Dr. Mitchell. You've certainly given us a lot of information.
Well, you're welcome. And call again if you have any questions.
We will. Bye. Now we need to update everyone on our progress. It's important to be prepared.
Have you heard anything from the Kids Club members in Scotland?
They mentioned visiting the Discovery Museum in Dundee. One of the astronauts recommended they check it out.
That's where the RRS Discovery is on display. Did you know that the space shuttle was named after their ship?
No. How did you know that?
Research.
I should have known.
We're really excited about our progress. In fact, while running with the astronauts the other day, we discussed going to the Discovery Point Antarctic Museum here in Dundee. I'm meeting with Miss Gil Poulter there this afternoon.
The RRS Discovery was one of the last wooden three-masted ships built in Britain, and she was built right here in Dundee. She was also the first to be constructed specifically for scientific research.
What kind of research was she built to do?
The ship was commissioned by the Royal Geographical Society to explore the Antarctic. At that time, Antarctica was still an unknown area, and Captain Scott and his crew were to explore the region and bring back scientific information.
Antarctica has a really cold and harsh environment. Must have been difficult.
Yes, it was. In 1901, technology was not as advanced as it is today.
I guess that could have been a problem. If you don't have any information about the place you're going, you won't know what to bring.
That's correct. The more knowledge you have about an environment, the more successful the mission. For example, Captain Scott took a wind generator for electricity, but the wind was too powerful in Antarctica and it broke the second time he used it.
If he'd known it was that one day, he would have left it behind.
That's correct, and they could have used the space for supplies that might have proved more useful.
What supplies did they take?
They needed an extraordinary variety of equipment because once the expedition was in Antarctica, they could depend only on the equipment they'd brought with them.
Wow, I didn't think about that. I guess there weren't any grocer or hardware shops if you ran out of something.
They had to take it with them or do without. They took explosives, fireworks for signalling, cameras, medical supplies, clothing, scientific equipment, soap, oil lamps, tools, tons of food, and even a hot air balloon for surveying.
Wow, that's amazing. I never realised you had to take so much stuff.
The Discovery carried some 19,000 kilos of flour to bake bread and 15,800 kilos of meat, which was mainly tinned and not as nourishing as fresh.
Why tinned meat?
They couldn't preserve fresh food during the long sea voyage from Britain or for the 2 years in the Antarctic. To help, they took along 45 live sheep, which they slaughtered once they got to Antarctica.
Why didn't they just hunt for their meat?
In the winter, the largest animal in Antarctica is only the size of an insect. But in the summer months, the men were able to hunt seals and penguins for food. But at first, they didn't like the taste.
We've learned how important it is for explorers to be healthy and physically fit. Did the men have any health problems on the expedition?
Yes, scurvy was a big health problem because its cause, lack of vitamin C, wasn't fully understood. It's a terrible disease that can cause internal bleeding, makes you weak, and have joint pain.
Sounds awful. Wasn't there anything they could do to prevent it?
They should have brought more citrus fruits, which contain vitamin C.
Sounds like they learned a lot from this expedition.
Yes, we learned valuable lessons from the past. Future explorations have a wealth of history to draw on to make sure the mistakes are not repeated. Today's explorers are much better equipped and safer than ever before.
I wonder what NASA is doing to plan for exploring the moon, Mars, and even beyond.
Good question. The astronauts will be here this afternoon. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer that question for the Kids Club members. Come on.
No wonder the astronauts are so concerned about getting and staying in shape. I'd better email the Treehouse detectives and the kids at Schultz Middle School. Maybe they have some questions for the astronauts as well.
So what's up? Have the Treehouse detectives figured out what is wrong with RJ? Do you think they will win the Presidential Award for Physical Fitness? Are lessons from the past the key to future explorations? Find out in the final chapter of The Case of the Physical Fitness Challenge.
During the investigation, be sure to look for the answers to the following questions. What type of physical activity is good for the heart? What activities should kids do every day? When you see this icon, the answer is near. I'm not sure how much it counts, but informing the greater population of our school certainly qualifies as physical activity.
Education requires a lot of work and discipline.
I just hope we win. It would be nice to go out on top.
It's not that bad, is it, RJ?
Yes, it is that bad. Did you see Blake? Talk about a go-getter.
I think he got promoted to field general today in PE. The kids at school seem to be responding well. The difficult part is to become motivated to be physically active. Most people want to be in good shape, but they don't exactly know how to go about it.
I'm not exactly sure how to go about it either. Right now, I'm just trying to follow my old track and field warm-up workout. I came up with a new hypothesis, though.
What is it?
If you eat nutritious foods, get at least 60 minutes of physical activity each day, and then balance your calorie input and output, then you'll be physically fit.
It sounds like you're on the right track, but I think we need some help here setting up a new routine.
Isn't Bianca trying to meet with some people on the President's Fitness Council?
I'll check my email.
There has to be more to this. I mean, a track and field exercise program can't be the only way to work out.
Plus, there's lots of ways to be physically active. Hey, you guys, we might have the answer. Bianca talked to someone at the President's Council, and they directed her to Mr. Lynn Swan.
That's funny. That's the name of one of the greatest Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers to ever play football.
I wonder if it's the real Lynn Swan. You guys, she is meeting with Mr. Lynn Swan, former Pittsburgh Steeler.
Quick, send her an email. I would love to get an autograph. Tell her to have him sign her Get Up and Go sheet.
Okay, I'm writing.
Swickley Academy's Nichols Field to meet Mr. Lynn Swan, sports commentator for ABC and chairman of the President's Council on Physical Fitness in Sports. I can't wait to meet him and learn more about how to keep active and physically fit.
Good throw.
Thanks. I've been working on my muscle strength and endurance by doing some weight training.
Well, Bianca, it's important to have a variety of exercises and physical activity, like swimming, running, and, of course, football.
When you played football, did you have to have a specific routine or do certain physical activities to keep your muscles and bones strong?
Yes, professional athletes have to stay in top condition.
How did you do that?
Well, I work with a trainer who helped me establish a routine and a schedule to meet my fitness goals.
What about kids? Do we need a specific fitness routine?
Well, not usually, unless, of course, you're training for a specific sport. The key here for kids is to get 60 minutes of activity each day in whatever activity or sport they consider to be fun.
I love to swim. Is that enough?
Well, swimming is great. Just remember that you should also participate in activities that will increase your aerobic endurance and muscular endurance, strength and flexibility, and help you maintain a healthy body composition, which is, of course, the proper balance of fat and muscle. By trying new activities, we learn new skills, and that can be fun and challenging.
That makes sense. If you enjoy the activity, you're more likely to be physically active all your life.
Yes, and it's also important to remember to be absolutely safe when you do a variety of activities.
I hadn't thought about that. Do you mean like wearing your helmet when you ride your bike or skateboard?
Oh, absolutely. And follow the traffic signs and rules when you're walking, riding, running, skating, or even skiing.
That's all good advice. Anything else?
Yes, make sure that you warm up before and cool down after any strenuous activity or sport.
More good advice. You must think that it's really important for kids to be physically active.
Yes, that's why I wanted to be involved with the President's Council. You know, ever since the President appointed me, I've had the chance to talk to kids and adults about the importance of physical activity and how important it is to the body, the mind, and the spirit.
We're really excited about our upcoming testing for the Presidential Physical Fitness Award.
That's great, but don't forget there are 3 other presidential programs that you can attempt.
I think Catherine is participating in the Presidential Champions Program. She's very active in all her sports.
Well, that's great, because in that program, you earn points towards gold medals, silver, or bronze based on the amount of energy you burn. For example, running and walking are great activities, but running requires more energy than walking, so you get more points if you're running.
How many points do you need to earn a medal?
Well, for the gold medal, you need 80,000 points. For the silver, 45,000, and for the bronze, you only need to get 20,000 points.
What other programs are there?
Well, there's a Presidential Active Lifestyle Award. For that one, you commit to 60 minutes of activity 5 days a week for 6 weeks. There's also the Health Fitness Award. To earn that, you achieve healthy levels of physical fitness based on health criteria and standards posted on the President's Challenge website.
Wow, I didn't know there were so many individual programs. We're working to make our school a state champion school.
Well, that's great. I hope you succeed. But you can also be a model school or a physical activity fitness demonstration center. Be sure to let everyone know that all students can participate, including students with disabilities.
Thanks, Mr. Swan.
Hi, Blake. Do you want to run sprints with me?
No, thanks. I did some walking earlier, and I think I'm gonna go for a swim later in the afternoon.
Well, at least you sound active.
Yes. I was thrilled about Bianca's report from a meeting with Mr. Swan. I used to think I had to have a grueling workout, kind of an Ironman workout, for 5th graders.
Sort of an Iron Kid situation.
Right, and I was overwhelmed. But now, I'm taking a healthier approach, and I'm enjoying it more, too.
That's because if you enjoy your activity, you're more likely to become active all your life.
That's interesting. I was speaking with the Kids Club members in both Houston and Scotland, and they were reaching the same conclusions. In fact, the Kids Club members in Scotland were hoping to speak with an astronaut later to learn more.
That's great. I hope they learn more about being a space explorer, because if we go to Mars someday, I want to make sure that I can measure up.
So are you gonna do some more sprints?
No, I think I'll just go swimming with you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When we travel to Mars, how will astronauts prepare for the long trip? Researchers at NASA are conducting a number of experiments to make sure we astronauts are well prepared for long-duration space exploration. Everyone at NASA wants to make sure astronauts stay healthy during space travel.
Treehouse detectives learned from Dr. Hagen that astronauts lose some muscle mass while in space.
Yes, Katie. Data from multiple NASA space missions have made it clear that low gravity creates changes in our muscles and bones. With the analysis of astronauts' blood and urine samples while in space, researchers can experiment with countermeasures.
What kind of countermeasures?
Some countermeasures are nutrition and exercise. By studying how countermeasures affect the loss of muscle mass, researchers can help to extend the length of time for space travel.
What about your bones in space?
Good question, Louise. There are also experiments being conducted for bone. For example, there's a new device being developed at NASA Johnson Space Center called the Advanced Resistive Exercise Device, or ARED for short.
I remember reading about the importance of resistive exercise in the Treehouse Detectives report with Dr. Amonette.
Exactly, Katie. The ARED offers the kind of resistance necessary for this exercise, and it will help keep the astronauts in shape.
What about nutrition in space?
In space, astronauts burn just as many calories as they do on Earth. However, sometimes their sense of taste changes, and they may not be as hungry. Being sure that they eat enough to stay healthy is even more important.
How do you make sure astronauts stay healthy in space?
NASA provides and monitors our diet for balanced nutrition before, during, and after space flights.
I found out how important vitamin C was to prevent scurvy. Does NASA make sure that astronauts get enough vitamin C?
Yes, Katie. Our astronaut menus are planned so that all the necessary vitamins, minerals, and nutrients are present.
NASA really makes sure that astronauts are healthy and stay that way both on Earth and in space.
Well, speaking of staying healthy, Christopher, tell us about your progress with the challenge.
Dear RJ, the astronauts were very helpful, and thanks for sharing all of your research with us. Now we really feel like we know what we're doing. Everyone in Houston seems to be doing well too. Keep us posted on your progress, and good luck.
It's great to see kids so excited about fitness and nutrition. So I was thrilled when the Treehouse detectives stopped by the lab to share the results of their investigation.
We're putting together our health and fitness presentation for our school, and we wanted to talk to you about it.
After all our research, we think we know the most important part of getting in shape. We just wanted to see if you had any suggestions.
Tell me what you have.
When you're young, it's important to be physically active at least 60 minutes a day.
We found that it's good to have a goal, such as the President's Fitness Challenge, to keep you motivated.
And you have to apply the principle of good stress to increase muscle and bone strength and muscle endurance.
That's right. Healthy muscles and bones are an important part of being physically fit.
So far, so good. Don't forget to mention that it's important to pick physical activities that are fun. It's easier if you like what you're doing.
I was really impressed with the importance of proper nutrition.
We get our energy from food and measure it in calories.
It's important to take in only as many calories as the body needs for its basic needs and for physical activity. But it's also important to make proper choices.
The Food Guide Pyramid helps you make sure that your body gets the proper nutrients it needs, such as carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, and minerals.
You probably ought to close by emphasizing that being active and eating right can lead to a long, healthy life.
That's good, Dr. D. We can't forget all we've learned about how NASA is preparing for long-duration space exploration.
After all, we are the next generation of explorers. I just may walk on Mars someday.
And of course, we have to be sensible in our plan. Warm up before and cool down after strenuous exercise. And pay attention to safety rules.
I think that it is also important to participate in a variety of different activities.
You're right on track, Dr. D.
And I hope that the students will get as excited about keeping fit as we are.
If you tell them how eating right and being physically active has personally helped you, it's even better than just reporting on research. Your excitement will also help motivate them.
That's excellent advice. Thanks, Dr. D.
Thanks.
Along with Schultz Middle School in Waller, Texas, and the Kids Club members in Scotland, we all got more involved with health and nutrition. Our school did become a presidential fitness champion school, and we all changed the way we live to live healthier. And, best of all, we're having fun.
Stay in shape, you gotta exercise.
Keep fit, never stop, do the hip, to the hot, to the top, gonna make your body rock. Like a race, gotta keep your pace.
It's a fitness challenge, get on your case.
Get moving, let your body start grooving.
You can do it, now let's prove it. Hypothesize.
Eat well and exercise.
You don't need another side of fries. Eat fries, eat fries.
You wanna feel your best, check your body mass.
You can pass the test, you can lead a rich life.
You don't need to be wealthy, a daily workout can keep your heart healthy.
Don't fear it, for your mind, clear it.
Lose stress in your body and spirit. Get straight, motivate productivity.
Feel the power of of activity.
I guarantee you're gonna like how you feel.
Put fitness into fitness, that's keeping it real. Hey, yeah, yeah. If you want to explore the solar system. Hey, yeah, yeah. You gotta be fly in physical condition. Eat right, eat late, let your body be the witness. Get tight, get right, put a fitness into fitness. Get your heart pumping.
This is Koreatown. My name is Hwang Bae Kim. You watch LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
welcome to the Los Angeles City Council. Today is Wednesday, January 1st. Council meets Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Madam Clerk, can you please, we now have a quorum. Can you please run through the agenda? Before you do that, Madam Clerk, I'm sorry. Mr. City Attorney, I believe you need to make a quick announcement about our new council rules.
Yes, I announced this yesterday, but I'd like to do it today, too, for people who are here for the first time. I'd like to take a moment to remind everybody that new council rules have come into effect. The new rules state that a member of the audience who disrupts multiple council or committee meetings may be excluded from future meetings for 1 or more days. The number of days of exclusion increases with the number of disruptions. The exact rules are available on the city's website, and they're also summarized on a poster board in the back of the room and a poster board just outside the doors of this chamber. The new rules do not address the content of speakers' remarks. Instead, the rules are designed to prevent actual repeated disruptions of council and committee meetings. Our hope is that the new rules will help the council and committee meetings run more efficiently to complete the city's business and to allow as many members of the public as possible to present their comments to their elected representatives in an orderly manner. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much for that. Madam Clerk, can you go ahead and call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Harris Dawson, Weezer, Koretz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rodriguez, Rue, Smith, Wesson. 11 members present and a quorum, Madam President.
Okay, first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Moved by Ms. Rodriguez and second by Mr. Rue.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Moved by Mr. Blumenfield and second by Mr. Smith. Next.
Madam President, item 1 is an item notice for public hearing.
Are there any cards on that item?
Yes, there are cards on the item.
Okay. Let's go ahead and hold it on the desk.
Items 2 through 21 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 8, 9, 10, and 13 have been submitted, posted, and circulated for council's consideration.
I'd like to ask we continue 19 until Friday.
Okay, continue item 19 from Mr. Bonin.
And Friday's date is January 18th. And Madam President, items 21A and B require motions. Would you like to hold those items on the desk?
Yes, go ahead and hold those items on the desk. So let's go ahead and vote on the remaining items. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes. 11 ayes.
Thank you.
And Madam President, item 2 will be held over 1 week unless reconsidered with 12 members present.
Okay. Without objection?
Items 22 through 32 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, now, without objection, those items are now before us. Do we have any cards on any of those items?
Yes, there are cards on all those items.
Okay, let's go ahead and we're going to go ahead and hold those items.
And Madam President, that then takes council back to presentations, items called special or general public comment.
Okay, let's go ahead and we have a presentation in council today. Mr. Blumenfield, are you ready? Good morning, Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you, Madam President and new Pro Tem. Colleagues, I'm proud to stand here with Chief Terrazas, Chief Everett, Chief Poirier, Chief Combs, and pilots Norquist and Smith. The reason we're up here today, you know, we were hit hard. We're looking at flooding right now, but just a flash ago, we were hit hard by the Woolsey fire. It burned approximately 70,000 acres, and about 250,000 people were evacuated. Overnight, 100,000 people were ordered to evacuate, most of whom ended up being housed right in my district. Over 150 people spent a few nights at Taft High School, over 500 at Pierce College. We then had to open up Canoga Park High School. It was an all hands on deck for my district and my team. Also, several hundred animals, from horses to dogs to turtles, had to be rescued. People didn't want to leave their beloved animals behind. And it didn't matter, in this case, the bulk of the fire. You know, most people don't think of the Woolsey fire as being a City of LA fire, because it really wasn't. It was only a little bit on the edges. But it was right next door. And fires don't know municipal boundaries for some strange reason. So that's why my staff and I and hundreds of volunteers, we got together. We put a call to action with my disaster preparedness community action team of volunteers, and we worked on getting donations and dealing with the victims who were displaced and trying to do everything we can to help them. Now, the fire was hard to contain because the Santa Ana winds were unpredictable. It appeared the fire threats had passed, but down power lines, debris, landslide, other factors had to be cleared. But one thing that we found, while there was a lot of community effort to help with the evacuees, the real heroes were the folks who are behind me right now. These are the guys who were on the front line rescuing people, who were literally fighting the fire. And I mean, I talked to a number of folks over those weekends. People have been working 36, 40 hours nonstop, and they were doing it because this is the front line. That fire was on our edge, and even though most of it wasn't in LA, our LA team was there. Now, on November 9th, something extraordinary, I wanted to bring it to all of your attention. LAFD Air Operations pilot David Norquist and Joel Smith, who are here today, were requested to evacuate 3 people and their 2 dogs in Malibu. With low visibility, running out of fuel, as well as smoke and flames surrounding them, these 2 pilots risked their lives and pulled off a miraculous rescue. Now, you can hear about those things, but pictures speak louder than words, and in this case, that rescue was on film. And so, before I have Chief Terrazas introduce the pilots, let's go to the videotape and look at this incredible rescue.
All right, this is not going to be pretty.
I don't know if I can get through that fence. The bushes are kind of tall, huh?
Yeah.
Your tail rotor's going to be okay, but yeah, we're definitely...
Well, can I move anywhere left?
You got like 3 feet.
See, I'm thinking right here ought to just work.
All right, I'm going to open the door.
Yeah, go ahead.
Keep coming.
Obviously,
2,
I'm not going to go.
1. Keep coming down. You're kind of in the bushes, but we're good.
All right, I'm not going to go flat pitch.
Okay. I'm going to keep the door open. I'm going to go run out.
Okay.
All right, Godspeed.
Yes, sir. Helco from 4, we are down. This is our best landing spot. I sent my co-pilot out to grab the individuals.
Copy that. I believe it's 2 plus a dog.
Okay, 2 plus a dog. And then as soon as we're here, we're going to have to head direct to the closest fuel.
Copy that.
And Helco from 4.
Go ahead, 4.
Yeah, just an update. We actually have 3 individuals and 2 dogs.
Copy that. Let me know when you're lifting, and I'll take you down to the fuel site.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. There's 1 dog here, English Mastiff, but it's a little apprehensive, but we're getting them on board.
Copy that. About the drop.
All right, let's get the hell out of here.
Good job, Joel. Let me know as soon as you're ready. All right, Helco 4, we got everybody on board, and we'll be lifting here momentarily.
All right, copy that, sir.
Okay, here we go.
I'm kind of back because your tail rotor's clear, was close.
All right, are we okay now?
All right, you're clear now.
All right.
That was close.
Yeah, it was.
All right, to introduce our two heroic pilots, I give you a man who needs no introduction in this chamber, Chief Terrazas.
Thank you, Council Member.
Welcome, Chief. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Thank you, Madam President, City Council members, for having us here this morning. The video you just saw, I saw the extended version, and it was a precarious landing. They were very methodical. You heard them say, we've got 3 feet from the bush, and this helicopter is a lifesaver, but it's also worth $18.5 million. And it's very treacherous sometimes. If you hit a bush, a wire, a tree, it could mean that your helicopter's coming down. And a few moments after they saved those people and the dogs, that ridge was overrun with fire. And on top of all of that, they were running low on fuel. So when you think about all the circumstances they were dealing with, they did a tremendous, tremendous job. A little bit about the Woolsey fire. At the height of the fire, we had 50 engines, and it was on the border of LA City. And it was burning because of the Santa Ana winds towards Malibu. We committed 50 fire engines, all our helicopters. In total, we had 62.5 hours of flight time with our helicopters dropping water. Our goal was to contain that fire, control that fire, to ensure that it doesn't burn into the city. The people behind me that you'll hear from shortly are very passionate and dedicated people. We're very fortunate within the Los Angeles Fire Department to have people who have passion in multiple areas, whether it's divers, whether it's inspectors, whether it's paramedics. The people behind me are passionate about flying. And one of the philosophies I believe is true is that excellence occurs when an individual recognizes an opportunity and pursues it with a passion. The people behind me are passionate about fighting fires, about flying helicopters and saving lives. So with that, I'd like to introduce to you our 2 pilots. Excuse me. Okay, I had to confirm they were going to come to speak. I want to first introduce Joel Smith. He's a 10-year member of the Los Angeles Fire Department. His last 3 years have been as a helicopter pilot. He is a Medal of Merit awardee. In 2015, he saved a life during a swiftwater rescue operation, an operation that could happen today because of the heavy rains. So I present to you Joel Smith.
Well, good morning. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you, Council, Madam President, for having us here. Again, my name is Joel Smith. I have just shy of 10 years on the Los Angeles Fire Department. Promoted to helicopter pilot about 3 years ago out of the rank of firefighter. So riding on the fire engines, the fire trucks, running the streets, just like you see every day. I'm very fortunate to be given the opportunity to fly helicopters with this fire department. With that being said, the incident itself, I was more in a trainee position, riding co-pilot with Pilot Nordquist behind me. He's very experienced in water dropping, hoist rescues, so I try to learn as much as I can from the experience that's in front of me. We got the call from Helco, LA County, said that there was a couple people that possibly needed rescue, and without hesitating, we kind of click into the mode of, okay, we have a new mission. Let's go get them. Thank God above, our cell phones worked at a low altitude. I could look up where Castro Peak was, exactly what our landing site is potentially going to look like. And with all the mountain training that I just graduated from and now going into the 139, landing in the mountains, such as you saw, is not really a big deal for us. We're trained to know within inches where our rotor tip path plane is going to end, whether or not we can land in bushes or a tight ridge line. Our first landing spot, I don't know if anyone saw the whole video, but the first landing spot was not going to do. Our rotors would have hit a tractor, so we decided to land on the other side. I ran out. The gate looked like it was locked. It had a couple chains locked there, and The lady, thank goodness, said, just pull on the lock, it'll come unlocked. Sure enough, it came unlocked, and with a little bit of convincing and a short conversation, I convinced them to get in our helicopter with their dogs. They asked if they could go back to grab some of their belongings, and I looked down at the ridgeline and the fire. We had maybe 5 minutes to load these people up, so we didn't have any time to spare. I didn't want to spare any time. As you saw in the video, the dog didn't necessarily want to go willingly. We kind of had to, if I had a treat, I would have helped him out, but no treats here, just a scary man in a helmet. So the owner helped me get that large Mastiff. Just prior to that, another dog in there. Thank God we were there at the right place at the right time. There was a sequence of events that had to line up exactly perfect for us to rescue those people. So again, thank you for the opportunity to come here and kind of share our story. This is something that we get to do on a daily basis. So you never know when the call is going to come in. So thank you.
The next pilot I'd like to introduce is Dave Nordquist. He's a 38-year veteran of the Los Angeles Fire Department. He got the flying bug when he was 5 years old, and he was flying with his uncle, who happened to be an LAFD pilot, or captain at the time, but he was a World War II B-17 pilot. So here's another member of our department who's living the dream, and he's flying helicopters for the Los Angeles Fire Department. I present to you Dave Nordquist.
Thanks, Chief. Joel did a good job of briefing you. I don't have a whole lot to add other than I just want to thank you for the support you give us, keeping our helicopter fleet modern and running well. And also for the training. Training is a huge part of our job. In fact, without it, we wouldn't be able to do most of our missions, especially the one you just saw on video. Whether it's the yearly training where we go to Flight Safety International and get simulator training, or more importantly, even our in-house on-the-job training. In fact, when I was a pilot trainee going through the mountain phase of training, one of the operations we perform is a ridgeline landing or a razor ridge landing. And I remember my instructor wanting to make it a realistic scenario. He had me make the approach, balance the helicopter on the narrow ridgeline, and he proceeded to tell me, okay, I want you to hold this here. And it's not a very stable thing to do, really, when you're balancing an aircraft on a point. But I was holding it, and he said, okay, let's kind of make believe here that there's a fire coming up the ridge, and we've got to evacuate some people. So just hold it. And I'm holding it, and he goes, okay, they're getting close to the helicopter. They're in the helicopter now. They're getting their seatbelts on, and I'm sweating bullets holding it because I'm just a young pilot trainee here. And finally he says, okay, they're on board. You can lift off now. And in fact, I use that same scenario with my students. But I never thought to myself, well, I did think to myself, what are the chances of that ever actually happening? And of course it did. So that's why the morning of the Woolsey fire, we were actually completely equipped, trained, and prepared to do that mission. So again, I just want to thank you for supporting us in that mission.
Well, great. I want to give you guys, on behalf of the council.
Mr. Blumenfield, I have one member on the queue.
Great.
Before you do that, Mr. Smith.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and Mr. Blumenfeld, thank you for bringing this. I want to say something. When I first came to the city of Los Angeles, I went out to the helicopter pad out in Van Nuys, which was at that time in my district, and saw, this was going back to the 1980s, before you guys, but saw a number of UE helicopters, which we were using at the time as our helicopter fleet. And I saw a UE sitting on the side. It was marked with U.S. Air Force markings on it. It was full of bullet holes. And I said, what's this for? And they said, well, that's spare parts. All of our helicopters we bought from the government for $1. They all were in Vietnam, and they were all blown up and shot up. That's our helicopter fleet. And I said, that's bad. When I was a young man, I know you think, you know me as a police officer, but when I was a young man, I grew up in La Habra Heights, where we had a volunteer fire department. And I was a member of the La Habra Heights Volunteer Fire Department, which was affiliated with LA County. We had a big fire one day, started in La Habra Heights, went down into Whittier, and I was on a task force that went in an area called Bull Canyon. We got trapped when the fire switched winds and caught us and trapped us. It was 2 LA County helicopters came in, dropped Phos-Chek, and gave us a path to get out of there alive. We lost 3 fire engines that day and a tanker truck, but every one of us got out alive. I had a lot of red hair for a few weeks, but we got out alive. So I have always thought LA firefighting is unique in the world, that we have these huge fires in our districts. A lot of us share those districts with these huge areas of wildfires, and we have a fire department that has helicopters, which so few do in the country. And I have always been committed to you. When I saw those helicopters, Van Nuys, when I came on this council, I said we have to do everything we can to replace them. And I was very proud that during my time here, my first time here, we were able to replace all those old helicopters with the Aerospital, I believe they are, and some of the newest, best equipment in the world, because we have the best firefighters in the world. You guys are American heroes. We are so proud of you. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Blumenfield, thank you for bringing them in, and thank you, gentlemen, for your service to our city and to our county. We are very fortunate that we have such a wonderful cooperative effort with our LA County Fire Department that, you know, we've seen the benefits of in my district most recently through the Creek and the La Tuna fires. And to your point, we will continue to make investments in ensuring your continued training and making sure that we are continuing to upgrade our equipment and maintain it, because it's such an important part. These fires are our new normal, given the environmental climate that we are living in, and we have continued to see the rapid expansion of these fires across our state as well. And so again, thank you for your heroism and this example. We hate to be seeing these types of circumstances, but I'm most proud of the fact that here in the city of Los Angeles, because of your service and because our continued commitment to fund this type of effort, that we will continue to be the example across this state of how this cooperative response is going to result in saved lives and saved properties. So thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez. Go ahead, Mr. Blumenfield. There are no more speakers on the queue.
Great. Well, I won't say much more because these guys literally have to leave, get in the air, and potentially save people from mudslides that are happening today. So they have their work cut out for them. So if you guys would each accept a small certificate of appreciation, Joel and Dave, and let's give them all a big round, and the whole department a big round of applause. Thank you guys so much. You get it?
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and vote on item 2 for reconsideration. Let's go ahead and open the roll on reconsideration on item 2. Open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that item is now before us. Let's go ahead and vote on item number 2. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Let's move on to speaker cards, Madam Clerk. First speaker is Mr. Herman. Are you here? We're going to do multiple speaker cards. Mr. Herman? You filled out a card for general public comment, item number 1, 22 through 27, 28, 29, 30, and item numbers 31 and 32. Go ahead.
The wind before the storm. Are we adhering to the rules? My understanding that the reappointment of the mayor's lover, Glenn Dake, for the Metropolitan Water District is being approved without the consent of the public. Now, whatever development develops from Glenn Dake's appointment should be an interest of the FBI investigation for poorly mismanaging the budget. Because, as you know, the budget is about communication from my standpoint, I, the legislative body, who controls the yahoos here. And then on item 24, poorly represented in CD 15 by Joe Busquiano regarding Rosa Parks Station, the Bureau of Street Lighting is conducting a business to allocate 6th Street in Harbor with new street lighting. Well, I find that offensive and without prejudice because there at the green line, Mr. Busquiano, there are no lighting. In addition to my interest in politics, I like to advise those of you who run the Horseshoe that the Brown Act allows me to opinionate and make decisions that are based on the budget. Everything in my hand is formed by the budget. Everything. So don't state that I'm off topic.
Mr. Herman, you're off topic.
On my time, Mr. City
Mr.
Attorney.
Herman, you're off topic, and you know you are. Get back on topic, or I'm going to ask you to move on.
Chair, as you are aware of the Brown Act, the ordinance does not physically deny me the right to speak on the physical impact statement of our budget for the Bureau of Street Lighting. Because, as I said earlier, everything in my hand evolves with money and the budget. So get that goddamn motherfucker out of this city hall, Jose Huizar, and fix the problem.
Mr. Herman, get back on topic.
Now my general public comment, as many Angelinos are unaware that Eric Garcetti, our mayor, is investigation by the FBI for poorly mismanaging federal and state dollars. Trump, Trump, Trump. And we're going to stop this stealing of the people's money, and we're not going to allow the mayor and his lover to fuck our city over on a physical budget. I chair this Horseshoe today with my 24 motherfucking seconds to advise all you crooked fucking politicians that it is time for change. And I'm the game player for change. You don't want me to come in here and satisfy your criticism? Then get me the fuck out and pay Wayne Spindler.
Next speaker is Mr. Previn. Eric Previn, are you here? Mr. Herman continues to laugh and make noises from his seat. Can you please make a note of that, Mr. City Attorney? Mr. Previn, good morning. You are speaking on general public comment, item number 1, items 22, 23, 27, item 30, and 32. Go ahead.
Well, it's Eric Previn from Studio City CD2, and I think we're very excited about an upcoming median project over on Magnolia near Vineland. It's just that we're using excess funds and there is no reference to the amount of funds. So I asked the city clerk, who said, we don't know, and they said the CAO knows, but the CAO is unresponsive. So I don't know. I think it's just a good best practice in these kinds of public forums to hand out agendas and to state.
I don't actually understand what agenda item you're on, Mr. Previn. Would you please?
Can you please state what agenda item you're on, Mr. Previn?
I'm talking about stuff that's on the agenda. I'm a member of the public and also on the Studio City Neighborhood Council. I would like to not be interrupted, Mr. Falble.
No, actually, if you're off topic, once we're in general public comment, you're free to talk about that. But during this segment,
I'm not in general public comment. I'm talking
I
about
understand
items
that.
on the agenda.
That's why you need to be speaking to an agenda item you signed up for.
Sir, you have to announce the agenda item you're speaking on before you speak? Is that a new rule?
Mr.
I didn't read
Previn.
It's not, but I don't think you're on any right now. If you are, please help us understand which one it is and speak to it.
Well, you're wasting my time, quite frankly, and I would rather not do that. I would rather talk about asserting jurisdiction over the Airport Commission and other items that I'm not going to identify by number, including appointments. And when we make appointments to commissions here in City Hall, traditionally and typically, the Ethics Commission vets it. There is a recommendation from one of the officials. Here we had, yesterday, a very different kind of a moment where there was a Rules Committee in which none of that happened, and Mr. Wesson and Mr. Smith, who's an excellent CD12ist now, were discussing it without any ethics approval. They were the conduits of the ethics information. To me, that falls beneath the standard. I'm just being honest with you. Now, in terms of the city attorney and your role in that, it's hard to understand. And it's hard to understand why you would approve not putting paper agendas in a public meeting, because that's new. And you've got these kiosks over the place, but I had to get a member of the Department of Neighborhood Development to go upstairs and
You're
get
not on an agenda item.
No, I am. There's 2 neighborhood council items on there. 2.
You're speaking to paper agendas in the back of the room. That's fine during
You
general
handed out
public
the
comment.
agenda during the meeting, sir, under request. I don't think that this is a good area for you guys. I think we should be more open and transparent.
So, Madam President, I suggest that Mr. Previn either get on topic immediately or we send him general public comment.
All right, let's go ahead and give him his general public comment. It's 1 minute because he seems to want to be on general public comment anyways. Go ahead, Mr. Previn.
Yeah, I don't understand how the city council, under a Vox leadership, wherever he's talking to Arnie Berghoff, the lobbyist, are allowed to produce meetings in which they are withdrawing information that the public needs to participate meaningfully. Now, here comes Mr. Smith back to face off with the public. He's a lobbyist for Waste Management. He worked for them. Whether he's doing good stuff or bad stuff is for others to decide. But we had a rule. It's called a prohibition. There's 2. One on lobbying after you serve, and the other on giving away conflicting information or, private information. So there's no allegation, but he admitted that he was working for them. He took money for them and then said that somebody told him to register as a lobbyist, even though he never once lobbied down here. Now, he is an excellent expert on recycling. There's an item on your agenda today on that. So this is all just nonsense. And Nicole Bernson could do a great job. And we should save the special election money. It's $2.5 million, guys. She could serve for 20 years. She's been here for 20 years. She'll be here for another 20 months. And that would be great for the people of CD12. Instead, we have a conflict situation.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Thank you very much.
Madam President?
The next speaker, yes, Mr.
Before we
City
call the
Attorney?
next speaker, I'd like to suggest that we give Mr. Herman a warning. During the course of Mr. Previn's comments, he was waving a sheet of paper, tore it in half, waved the torn pieces of paper around in an obvious and actually effective attempt to disrupt us and me. I was unable to concentrate on the speaker because I was busy looking at Mr. Herman's antics. So I suggest we give him a warning, and if he continues to make repeated movements and gestures that are designed to distract us, we ask him then to leave the meeting.
Noted. Mr. Herman, you've heard the warning. Ms. Ramirez, are you still here? Come forward, ma'am. Good morning. Ms. Ramirez, you have signed up for general public comment, and items 23 and 31, I'm going to remind you to please speak to the items before you start your general public comment, okay?
Thank you very much for the admonition. Thank you very much. I would like to ask on number 23, how much is Garcetti's lover? Because we now know he's gay. And he has a fake wife and a fake adopted child. Okay. How much is Mr. Glenn C. Drake getting paid to regulate the water? And by the way, isn't it a conflict of interest, city attorney? And number 31, again, housing. Ladies and gentlemen, again, we are doing a poor job of housing the military veterans and middle-class Americans. We are too busy. All of you are too busy housing all these wetbacks and gangbangers, goddamn wetbacks and goddamn gangbangers, and they're destroying the neighborhoods and the communities. We cannot sustain these goddamn wetbacks and gangbangers. We live on the streets, most of us anyway, and you know what? That's what I fight for, to get rid of these fucking gangbangers and wetbacks and stop subsidizing them and bring the middle-class Americans and military veterans, God bless America, back into society. Why do we have to sit out there under tarps in the rain? God bless America. We need to get these fucking wetbacks and gangbangers and these niggers on drugs off the streets. We need public safety, ladies and gentlemen.
So
It's not just how.
I think we veered off the agenda item a bit,
Ms. Rodriguez. Ms. Ramirez. Ms. Ramirez, can you please stop her clock? Ms. Ramirez, I reminded you to please stay on topic. Let's move on to general public comment. Ms. Ramirez.
America, man.
Ms.
We
Ramirez.
need to take action now. Help American women.
No, we
who
need
are
to
homeless.
remove her. She continues to be off topic. Ms. Ramirez, I warned you from the very beginning. Ma'am, you need to. Now you.
So, Ms. Ramirez, I think the presiding officer has asked you to quietly leave the meeting. You please follow the order. Because you refused to get back on topic and you were shouting, after repeated warnings, the presiding officer has asked you to quietly leave the meeting. Please do so.
No, ma'am, I've given you repeated warnings to get back on topic, and you did not. Thank you very much. Please escort her out the council
Okay,
chambers.
so Ms. Ramirez, you've been ordered to leave the meeting quietly, and now you're being removed.
Censorship and democracy.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, Ms. Ramirez. Okay, anyone fill out a card for Brown Act 63? Anybody here sign up with that name? No. Seeing none, thank you. Let's move on to general public comment. Rob Kwan, are you here? Good morning. You signed up for general public comment.
Morning. I want to congratulate Councilmember Martinez for being selected as President Pro Tem. Appreciate that you are our most fearless representative and the only one willing to speak up when it comes to LAPD. Can't say how grateful I am that it'll be you and not Councilmember Englander choosing our new ethics commissioner. I do want to emphasize the importance of balancing out that commission so that we have a representative that has an understanding of election law and grassroots campaign experience. That would be preferable. Yesterday, a developer ban was reintroduced. 2 years ago, we saw a developer ban introduced, and there was no activity over 2 years. Outside of Councilmember Rue, there wasn't really anyone following up and doing the legwork on that. I've looked into it, and this is a beastly endeavor. I do think that there's a whole lot more to sort through there. One thing I would emphasize about that motion is it includes a people's-only model like our federal government, so that we actually wouldn't allow direct contributions from corporations to candidates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That concludes speakers on all items, including general public comment. So we're going to go ahead and close general public comment at this time, Madam Clerk. Let's go ahead and vote on item number 1. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Let's go ahead and vote on items 22 through 31. 22 through 31, let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Let's move on to item 32. Mr. Bonin, did you want to speak on that item, or just go ahead and move to receive and file on item 32? Okay, without objection, that will be the order. Let's go ahead and vote on item 21A.
Excuse me, Madam President, if we could vote on item 32, please.
Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote on item 32.
14 ayes.
Now let's move on to item 21A.
A motion is required for 21A.
I will go ahead and move to confirm the lien on item 21A. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, let's move on to item 21B. Ms. Rodriguez?
And on 21B, a written motion has been circulated for council's consideration.
Okay, let's go ahead and vote on item 21B. Let's go ahead and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, what's before us now?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Okay, posted and referred. Members, are there any announcements? Any announcements? Mr. Buscaino, you have an announcement?
Sorry.
No announcements? Can we all rise for adjourning motions? Mr. Koretz, would you like to go first? I think you have an adjourning motion, sir.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'd like to, actually, I'd like to have my mic adjusted. It's a little too loud. This is a particularly difficult adjourning motion, but I'd like to adjourn in memory of Barbara Yaroslavsky, who I've known for many, many years, who sadly passed away recently from complications of West Nile virus. Last month, our city lost a tremendous human being, and I know we all offer our condolences to our friend Zev Yaroslavsky, who was former county supervisor and was the previous council member in CD5 a number of years ago as well. Zev and Barbara were married for 47 years, and they were certainly fit the definition of life partners and worked closely together on many things. And she was, I would say, Zev's closest confidant and in-house advisor. But she was much more than that. I think we all know her as sort of a force of nature. And she was nurturing and compassionate and loving, and she was a wonderful human being. But at the same time, she held high expectations for you, and particularly if she was your constituent and you were her council member. And so I enjoyed that sometimes. Sometimes maybe not. But she reflected the best parts of being a community activist and community leader. And she was involved in many community projects throughout her career, especially in areas of interest like education and healthcare. She was active on a number of boards at the Jewish Federation. She headed special projects for the Zimmer Children's Museum. She served on the California Medical Board and was quite distinguished in that. She was an active participant in the Health Professions Educational Foundation and a member of the Commission on Communities and Family Services. She was a board member of the Free Clinic. She was a board member of LA's Best, among countless community activities that she undertook, and service to the city and the county and the state that I think are virtually unmatched by anyone. And although she was a very strong woman and an outspoken leader, it was very interesting when she ran for city council to follow Zev in Council District 5. And she lost. And I believe she lost largely because she was too humble. And I think she surprised a lot of people, but she could talk about anything, she could advocate for anything, but she really didn't make the arguments about all the amazing things she had done in her own career, because she was just a humble person, and that was just her life and what she did. She really spent her life helping others organizationally, and I have run into a number of people at her funeral and other activities and just throughout the community that have told me about individual things that she did for them when they needed it in a way that very few people have matched. And so Barbara Yaroslavsky is survived by her husband Zev, her son David and daughter Mina, as well as 4 grandchildren, of which she was very proud, a brother and sister, and other family members. And in lieu of flowers, the family requests that contributions in Barbara's name be made to the Saban Community Clinic. And the City of Los Angeles and the County of Los Angeles and the State of California have lost a true shining star, and she will be sorely missed by everyone that knew her and all the people that didn't know her but were impacted in so many different ways. and may she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Corres. We're also joined by our city controller. Mr. Galpern, would you like to come forward? You'd like to say a few words?
Please.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you so very much. And it's an honor to be here to recall an absolutely incredible woman, Barbara Yaroslavsky. And thank you so very much also, Councilman, for inviting me. The one word I think that sums up Barbara Yaroslavsky was moxie. And I think it describes her so well. It means character, it means determination, it means nerve. And she had it. She had moxie in spades. And that's really what I loved about her. She was blunt, she was direct. You always knew where she stood on something, and you always knew where she stood with you, because she would tell you. She didn't suffer fools lightly, and she knew, and she had a very strong sense of right and wrong. And these are qualities that she shared very much with her husband, Zev. I suppose I felt a particularly strong affinity for her and an endearment for Barbara, because she really reminded me of all those qualities that my own mom had. It is that moxie that was matched with a heart for her family, a heart for her kids, for her friends, for community, for all of Los Angeles. She was also an idea person, and she was a doer. You wanted to get things done, she was a great person to get them done. Now, I'd get emails from her with ideas, with questions, with complaints. I knew when an email popped up in my inbox that I actually needed to do something if it was from her. And here's how it would go. Barbara would write me about a topic that she'd been thinking about. Sometimes she sent over questions about finances or about development or about so many other things. And I was looking over one such email that she sent to me in the last year. And here's the subject line, and it kind of makes me smile. It says, "When you have 2 minutes of downtime and you have done everything you would want to do in those 2 minutes, these ideas are sitting on my mind. Give me a call." And that really says so much about the kind of person that she was. And if you wanted something done, she was great to have in your corner. So in Jewish tradition, on the passing of a great person, we say, Tihiyena nafshotat tzrura b'tzror ha'chaim. May her life be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Thank you, Barbara, for having shared so much with our community, and thank you so much to the Yaroslavsky family for sharing Barbara with us. And it's an honor to be here with all of you this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wesson.
Madam President and members, you know, I'll be very brief. I really got to know Barbara before I got to know Zev. I knew who Zev was, and we would always speak. But for whatever reason, the two of us gravitated to one another, and she was a big friend of mine, a big supporter of mine. Paul refers to the medical board that she was appointed to, and she became one of the first, I think, non-medical people to actually chair this board. I'm proud that I'm the individual that appointed her to this board. What happened to her, I think we have a responsibility to try to ensure that that doesn't happen to anyone else. And what we should make sure that we do is that in our own surroundings, in our own homes, that we make sure that there's not standing water and things of this nature. I remember talking to Zev, and they believe that because of a broken, I can't remember, jacuzzi at a neighbor's yard. And I'm telling you, when I first heard of it, which I think was the first or second day, and I talked to Zev, he talked about both of them being bitten. And he just didn't get bitten by that mosquito. So I think that one of the things that we ought to do as a council is try to come up with a way to educate people about this, because she was taken away from us too soon. And I'll tell you just one other thing. When people do make their transition, it is a celebration of life and what they did during their lifetime. But at this service, it had and I know I am not saying this one time, Mr. Krikorian, I wish I was you so that I could articulate it, but it was appropriately sad. It was appropriately moving. It was appropriately touching. And we all that really knew her felt loss, and we felt pain. And I know I saw a lot of us. In fact, I think I sat next to Ms. Martinez. So I think that it's very appropriate that this council would adjourn in her memory and talk about all of the phenomenal things that she did. And Mr. Galperin, you're absolutely correct. Moxie, I mean, in the dictionary, it should be Moxie and then her photograph. But let us try to ensure that we do everything that we can so that a tragedy like this does not strike another family. The emotion in the faces of those children, her children, the pain that I saw in the face of my dear friend and mentor, Zev. We don't want to see that unless we have to. So I don't know where or what we can actually do as a city of Los Angeles, but I challenge all of us in these great 15 minds, or let me say great 14 minds around this horseshoe, that we should try to figure out a way for the city of LA to weigh in to help with the eradication, education, and of this just unfortunate, unbelievable illness that happened to an individual, in my opinion, that hadn't even reached her prime. So I just say goodbye to Barbara, and that we're here for the Yaroslavsky family in any way that we can be. And just think of the last thing I'll say. She would have been so proud that the young son that we watched grow up was appointed a judge. Nobody on this planet would have been prouder than her. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. Mr. Cedillo?
Mr. Wesson, you know, it's hard. In fact, it's impossible to think about Zeb without thinking about Barbara. It's just unthinkable. And my heart goes out to Zev particularly because she was, in many respects, and for many of us, his better half. And we all know that. You know, she was a thinker, and she had many ideas, but she was really a doer. And I met her during her first campaign. I endorsed her immediately. I liked her immediately. I just thought she was just so great. The first time I met her, I didn't really know her. But I met her, and I said, you know, I'm going to endorse you. And I endorsed her. Then I was head of the union, I think, at that time, and so I was happy to support her. And then, you know, we were you know, good friends, casual friends. But when we became good friends was after my wife passed away. Her and Shirley Roberts and Olivia Mitchell made it their cause to make sure that I was okay. And they adopted me, and I became their younger brother. And so she always had a way of making sure, checking in. During the funeral, they talked about these. She'd say, "Are we okay? Are we okay?" She'd always say things like that. And you know, she was just awesome. I mean, she was a mensch. She was a helper. She was a giver. And that's who she was. And there is a huge void in this town because she's not here. Huge void. I mean, she was available and ready for any cause at any time, and her voice and her presence is going to be missing. Now, to her credit, as we saw at the service, her legacy, those children are really her children, and they're extraordinary, and so we look forward to them filling that void. What can we do? She's gone. What we can do is do what she would do. It's just be helpful, right? Be kind, be ready, be enthusiastic, and be generous, and embrace that spirit. I try to do that in my life daily with respect to my wife's legacy, and I think we add that with respect to Barbara. I know her and my wife are up there just chatting away right now, updating each other, and she's going to be missed. The other thing we can do is we can embrace Zev and that family, the Yaroslavskis, because they are so vital and critical to this region, and we have to make sure that they remain in place, being the great leaders that they've been. And I say that as someone who, in many instances, has not always agreed with Zev, as many of us haven't, but I love and respect both him and Barbara for their contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Mr. Rue.
Thank you, Madam President, and I want to thank everyone for all those great words that spoke before me, and it's an honor to join in remembering Barbara, because she was a dear friend and a mentor and an advisor, and what everybody said, I mean, she was an icon. I mean, she had this rage, but with compassion, for justice and equity. And I remember she used to call me up and say, with love, David, I think you're wrong. Oh, you should do this. I mean, but she always said it in such a nice way, where you know she was commanding, yet was so sweet about it. And like Mr. Weston said, I knew, working for Supervisor Burke, I knew Zev, was able to talk with him at times and work with him on different things. But like Mr. Weston, I knew Barbara first. I really got close to Barbara first because we sat on a state commission together, and we also hit it off, and she was just so kind and so gracious. And I have no doubt that when I ran for office, the only reason Zev helped me was because of Barbara. Barbara used to call me and say, David, call him now. Say this, don't say that. He's in a good mood, he's in a bad mood. Zev doesn't know this, but she used to call, she used to call me and coach me, and and she sat down with me, went through all the different neighborhoods. I mean, she was just amazing, and I know everybody was in shock. I know I was in shock, especially because Zev was giving updates that we were all following, and because she's such a fighter, she actually beat the West Nile. She beat it, and she was on the road to recovery. Everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, no one but Barbara could beat this thing," and she did. And because of other complications, just all of a sudden, I mean, it was completely unexpected. Because the fact is she won. So, I mean, it was, my heart goes out to Zev. She'll sorely be missed. And, I mean, she's the Zev whisperer, right? and I just give all my love to Zev and his family at this time of hardship.
Thank you, Mr. Rue. Mr. Blumenfield?
Thank you. I just wanted to add my voice to the chorus here. Barbara was amazing. First time, I met her 20 plus years ago, first time, and I didn't know her that well back then. I knew of her through Zev, but also through the Jewish community. I mean, she was really active. A lot of people may not realize all of the things. I mean, Paul, you mentioned a number of them between the Zimmer Museum and the Federation and the Corée Reading Literacy Program. She was very involved. But I always thought of her as Zev's wife, and I didn't know her that well. And then when I was in the assembly and she was on the medical board, I used to be on a plane every day. So I would see her on that plane at least once a month, if not more frequently. We would always sit next to each other. And I really got to know the person. And the amazing thing is I realized how smart she was, how direct she was. She, you know, once you get to know her a little bit, she doesn't mince words, and she tells you what she thinks of other people and all sorts of things. But it's all with the idea of how do we make things better. And on that medical board, even though, as you mentioned, she wasn't a medical person, she dove into that and really became chair and focused on those medical issues. But besides all of her accomplishments, what I also remember is that she would always ask me about my family. And, you know, that she always talked about the life balance and how to make that work. And I appreciated that and respected that. And, you know, you mentioned she was like a mother, someone said that. I felt that way too. So may she rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Blumenfield. I just want to add, you know, Barbara was a real trailblazer who demonstrated that women can achieve greatness independently of who they're married to. And that's what Barbara was to me. Independently of who she was married to, she spoke with passion about what she cared for. I attended her funeral services. You're right, Mr. Weston, you and I sat together, and so many of us were there. And what I took away that day is it was a real reflection of how many people loved Barbara and how many people Barbara inspired through her life. So, Mr. Koretz, thank you for bringing this adjournment to us today. I'd like to add all of us to the adjournment, if you allow us to, and may she rest in peace. Thank you. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you. It's a wonderful tribute to Barbara. So to Zev and the family, our thoughts and prayers are with you. Like Barbara, the city lost an incredible champion that wanted to improve the quality of life of our city, Roberta Weintraub, a champion for law enforcement, community engagement, and public education. She attended public schools and graduated from UCLA in 1960 and worked on the John F. Kennedy's presidential campaign, participated in the civil rights movement, obtained a certificate in state and local government from Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government. Ms. Weintraub would then spend many years dedicating herself to bettering the lives of the children of Los Angeles, specifically those living in underserved communities. She served as an LA Unified School District board member for 14 years, and during this time was elected president 4 times. As a board member, she became known for her outspokenness and willingness to take on important issues. She pushed for more magnet schools and helped open the first school-based health clinic that dispensed contraceptives. In the late 1990s, she founded the Police Academy Magnet School Program through a partnership between the LAPD and the LA Unified School District. The program taught high school students the principles of law enforcement, constitutional law, and the criminal justice system. Here is where I had an opportunity to meet and work alongside as a senior lead officer with Ms. Weintraub. The program has expanded to 9 campuses. In 2004, Ms. Weintraub founded High Tech High, which is a public school focused on science, math, and technology. She also helped create Students Run LA, a program that encourages children to embrace physical fitness and make healthy choices. She hosted and produced the acclaimed School Beat, an education TV talk show, for 3 years. Ms. Weintraub also served on the Board of Governors for the State Bar of California and the Library Commission for the City of Los Angeles. And finally, she started the Police Orientation Preparation Program, which combines criminal justice programs provided by the LA Unified School District, the LAPD, the LA Community College District, and Cal State LA. Her legacy will live on through these programs that she founded and initiated, but we've truly lost a special person and leader here in our city. Our hearts and condolences and prayers go out to her family members, friends, and colleagues. Roberta Weintraub, may she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino. Are there any other adjourning motions? Mr. Weezer.
Thank you, Madam President. And to both Barbara and Roberta. On Roberta, I served on the school board several years after she did, but you could still hear about the impact she had, incredible impact that she had on her students, programs that she initiated, and her legacy will live on with our students. And on Barbara, I just want to have a quick story to share. She was on the Commission for Children, Youth, and Families when I was on the school board, and she was active and proactive. She would reach out, and yes, we'd get calls about different things happening in the school board. And one day I was flying up to Sacramento on some school board business, and She happened to be on the plane with, I think, everyone else on the plane were going to this Jewish conference in Sacramento. And she thought I was going to the conference. She thought I was going to this Jewish conference in Sacramento. So every time she would introduce me later on throughout, every time I'd see her, she introduced me to somebody. This Jose Weezer, a huge supporter of the Jewish community. I never had the courage to tell her, no, Barbara, I was going for some other business. But I'll take that credit. Yes, I am a huge supporter of the Jewish community. But Barbara, may she rest in peace. Beautiful human being. And I would also like to adjourn in memory of Rodney Kajiyama. He is an actor and huge supporter of the Japanese American community here in Los Angeles. Rodney was born in 1941 in San Mateo, California. He passed away in his sleep December 9th at the age of 77. He began his acting career in San Francisco in 1965 as an original member of the Asian American Theater Company and moved to Los Angeles in 1979, where he landed roles in the Karate Kid franchise and in Ron Howard's Gung Ho. The Screen Actors Guild member and Hollywood Asian American trailblazer and activist, was local and active in many events around the Little Tokyo community here in Los Angeles and in the entertainment industry. Rodney began slowing down in his later years due to numerous health issues. He lived with HIV for decades, took a daily regimen of pills, and suffered from kidney illness. He was on dialysis for several years before his death and walked with a cane after he had both hips replaced. Recognizing a physical shift in his life, he made a deliberate attempt to become a part of the Little Tokyo community in the 1990s, publicizing himself as an MC and entertainer at events throughout the city. Rodney was a regular volunteer at the Japanese American National Museum and was Little Tokyo's MC of choice for community gatherings, and planned to continue the tradition of acting as Shogun Santa, the neighborhood's Japanese Santa Claus. Through it all, Rodney was extremely proud to be a part of his extended family in Little Tokyo. He spoke publicly about his struggles as a young gay man, but did not let those struggles stop him from being unabashedly and fiercely himself. Rodney is survived by his husband, Ken White. The couple met in 1979 and married in 2013 when California legalized same-sex unions. Rodney was a great man, activist, and artist. He will be dearly missed. May he rest in peace.
Thank you, Mr. Weezer. Are there any other adjourning motions? Mr. Smith? Okay, he says he doesn't have an adjourning motion. You have another, Mr. Vizcaino?
Just an announcement. I was just talking to Mr. Bonin. The Coachella Valley lost an incredible municipal leader in council member and mayor of Cathedral City, Greg Pettis. So as the information's forthcoming, we'll be adjourning in his memory as well come Friday. So
longest standing council member of the city of Cathedral City, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I had read that in the paper yesterday.
Tremendous loss.
Yeah. May he rest in peace.
As we gather more information, we'll adjourn as a body. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other adjourning motions? Seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.